Welcome back to Structured Product Management Thinking. I'm your host, Kurt Van Etten, and this is the channel that's dedicated to everyone enhancing their skills and advancing their career. So in the last couple modules, we've talked about developing the software, doing agile execution, using our agile metrics and our retrospectives to drive continuous improvement. And we've talked about end-to-sprint demos where we're bringing in all the outside stakeholders to give us continuous feedback, but we shouldn't ignore our customers and our users. And we want to get their input throughout the process and be able to test certain things with them. And so early in the process, hopefully we've gone out and recruited some design partners, people that are interested in this particular product or feature, but we also have to do some formal user testing towards the end as well, because we want that continuous feedback and get as many iterations in as possible. So how do we recruit these user testing participants? Well, the first place I generally look is, hey, who's asked for this feature? Why are we doing this feature to start with? Is there something in our RFE backlog and our feature request? We have 6 or 7 customers actually asking for this. That's probably a great way to recruit them because they're interested in solving this problem and they want you to be successful. Certainly, if you have a customer advisory board or a user group, that's a great way to get participants. Again, word of caution, these groups tend to be a little overly positive with their feedback. But again, all feedback is a gift, and so I certainly wouldn't ignore their feedback, and I would get them to participate as well. A great source is anyone that has talked to customers that are out there in the field every day. So this can be community representatives, customer success, sales. Hopefully you've done a good job and you published early in the process your marketing research plan, you published your business case, and they're aware of what you're doing. And so it's very easy to go back to them and say, hey, remember we're working on this feature. Can you recommend anyone that might be a good design partner or someone that'd be willing to do some user testing with this? That is just a great source. Probably my best participants have come to me through that channel. And then third-party services. So you can hire a third-party group like user testing or respondent. These companies will go out, ask for a profile, and recruit participants for you to do. It's much more common in B2C environments, but it's also used in B2B as well. So how to select these participants? Really important is who do you want to test with? Going back to our customer module and our segmentation and who is Sean. You need to think about all those things. So you want to create a profile of the person that you want to test with. And then you have to vet these applications, whether it's coming from internally or externally. So this is really important if you're going to give any kind of financial compensation to participate. If you're going to offer $100 for an hour of someone's time, you're going to get a lot of people that say, yeah, I'll be happy to participate. They may not be the right person. So you have to go through and really screen all your applicants and make sure that you're testing with the right people. Another good thing to consider is not only testing with current users, but testing with non-users as well, especially if your goal is around usability. So if your goal is, hey, we redesigned this workflow to make it really simple, put someone who's not familiar with your product in the chair and see if they can complete the task. And if they can, you've got some great usability in your product. Okay, so there's a whole science and a lot of training associated with actually conducting those interviews. That's beyond the scope of this course. But I do want to share with you a lot of good best practices around user testing. And it's really important. Again, it's something that gets overlooked quite frequently. So before even start the user testing, do these things. Define your clear goals and objectives. What are you really testing? And what outcomes do you expect? Are we testing ease of navigation? Are we testing that they can complete a task faster, that they have less errors, that we made the page more sticky, that they're going to stay on? Really think about those things. Like what exactly are you testing, and write it down. Test things that are relevant. Test what is the job to be done in the use cases. So you don't want to be over prescriptive, but at the same time, you want them to use the product in a way that you expect them to use it. So for example, you should write a test guide, and manner might be written. So for example, you might write a test guide, and you may write it in this way. and give them a task and say, hey, you need to find a physician and you need to find someone within 20 miles of you that takes your insurance that is a pediatrician. And that's it. You don't talk about the user interface. You don't tell them where to click. You just give them the task to do and then see if they can complete the task. Collect both qualitative and quantitative data. To be honest, in most of my experience, we've relied almost exclusively on the qualitative data, but it's really important to get the telemetry of the product, depending on what your goal is, because if your goal is to drive up the average user time or make the page more sticky or make the task completion faster, then you have to put that instrumentation in place. And having completed a number of these tests, if you can marry the qualitative and the quantitative together, it's going to provide you a lot more insight. Okay, during the actual user testing, the most important thing is encourage thinking out loud. And what you want to instruct the participant to do is talk while they're doing the test and just say what you're thinking. So, for example, I'm doing the test and I say, well, I see a search button here. I'm going to click that and I expect it to give me some parameters of how I can search for a doctor, maybe by his name, or there might be some other filters. And they click on it and they're like, okay, I see there's a way here to do by distance. I think this drop down probably gives me some certain ranges. Doesn't look like I can put a number in. I just have to use the drop down. That's an example of how you want the participant to go through the exam so you can actually understand what they're thinking and going through it. You want to record these sessions for a lot of reasons, but one reason is certainly observing nonverbal cues. You want to watch the participant. A lot of these will be recorded and there's technologies that show where their mouse moves, but you want to see when they're getting frustrated, kind of see where they're sighing, and really pick up on those and understand where in the process is that happening. Maintaining neutrality is important as well. Again, you're not rooting for the user to complete the task. You're trying to get feedback. And so you don't want to be over prescriptive or guide them in any way. And this is why it's best practice to use a third party or use a user researcher. It's not really associated with this particular product or feature. So a great example of this is the user may be going through and you've given them the task and they see this arrow and they'll ask, they're like, well, what happens if I click this arrow over here? And the best response to that is, what do you think is going to happen? And they'll say, well, I think what's going to happen if I click this, I'm probably going to get the physician details. And then you tell them, okay, go ahead and click it. And sometimes they're right, and that's the physician detail page, and sometimes they're wrong. But again, great way to gather insight, and don't say, oh, well, that feature that we built is the doctor's, oh, well, that's a great feature that we built. That's the physician detail page. So go ahead and click there and you'll see how awesome it is, right? That is not what you want to do at all. Maintain your neutrality. And then at the end of the test, you do want to debrief with participants. You want to sit them down, talk about the whole process. Hey, how did it go for you? The way you got involved in it, the recruiting, the test. They may give you some feedback like, well, this wasn't what I expected. I thought this product was for a different purpose. I thought it went too long. I thought it was a 45-minute commitment. It's been more like an hour. Any feedback that you get is really valuable because you're going to do this continuously. And again, you want to have continuous improvement. And then you want to obviously analyze and report the findings in an effective manner. You're looking for patterns. You're looking for issues. You want a very clear, concise recommendations to go back to the product owner and the team, and they can decide where to put those in the product backlog and prioritize and put them in. And of course, you want to analyze and report the findings effectively. You want to compile a report and you're looking for patterns. And so you want to have some clear recommendations. You want to turn that over to the product owner. You want to turn that over to the team, and they want to put it in the product backlog and prioritize accordingly. Okay, user testing anti-patterns. just providing the software. I'm guilty of this early in my career. I was working on some enterprise level software. We were only doing a release a quarter, and there was all kinds of time pressure to make the GA date, and we'd get close to the GA date, and we're like, hey, we got to do a beta, and then we just release beta copies to some customers. No clear objective, no clear test guide. They didn't know what to do with it, and it just ended up with frustration on both sides. Just became a check the box exercise to say, yeah, we did a beta, but we never really got any meaningful feedback because we didn't give them guidance. Poor recruitment is definitely an issue. Again, you got to know who you're trying to test with. Who's your Sean? Who's that ideal customer you want to test with? I mentioned that you have to vet these applications very, very stringently if there's financial compensation involved. This one has happened to me at least on 3 different occasions where I'll go to a product manager and I'll say, hey, at Acme, Roger's one of our user testers, right? And I'm like, yeah. Did he get the release and just go through the test? And he's like, yeah, he looked at it and his bug was fixed. He's really happy. And I'm like, okay, but did he go through the test guide? Did he, oh, no. He's happy. He just got his bug fixed. That's not a user test. It doesn't count. And again, you have to set expectations with the users as well. If they're an existing customer, and tell them, hey, this is a new feature. We're going to give you a beta. We want you to spend like 15 minutes going through some tasks that we'll give you. And then you can spend as much time as you like, poking around and looking for other things to give us feedback on. But set that expectation with them. And then testing late in the process. The way software was done when I was a young man was, writing 50-page plus PRDs and doing releases once a quarter, and you would just get to the end, and it was hard to get feedback in the middle. But Agile really enables that. And as a team, when you're doing your planning and doing your business plan, you should think about it like, hey, when can we do a round of user testing? Do you think we'll have enough after sprint 3, after sprint 4, after sprint 5? But just plan for that. It should be part of the project plan. The Scrum Master should be on top of that because it does take some work, and you do need lead time to recruit people and get them lined up to do it. So it's important to think about that ahead of time. I've had some great engineers that really push this. They're always like, hey, when can we do a test with the users? When can we do a test with the users? That's just such fantastic feedback. It just shows engineers are so concerned about the customer and getting feedback and being iterative. And that is a great sign of a knowledge worker and not a factory worker. Okay, so that's a guide on user testing, just some best practices there. Again, a little bit of planning, a little bit of structure will go a long way in your user testing. So in the next module, we're going to switch over, and now we're going to start talking about the go-to-market. And you will need to make sure that the market A understands about your product, they're aware of it, and that it's fully enabled. As always, please, all feedback is a gift. Contact me, like, subscribe, make comments below. We're all here to improve our skills, get better at product management, and build a community. And I hope you actively participate in that. And I look forward to seeing you in the next module.